My name is Mara Ellison. I'm 34. And for most of my life, I've been the quiet one in a house that never understood the meaning of quiet. While other people grew up with locked doors and privacy, I grew up with a stepfather who believed walls were optional and a stepbrother who treated my room like it was part of his territory. I was the youngest, the afterthought, the one everyone felt entitled to monitor, correct, or simply push aside. And I learned early that being the outsider in your own family is a kind of loneliness no one warns you about. I told myself things would calm down after I built a life of my own, but I was wrong. And the night everything finally snapped didn't start with a scream. It started with a sound no one else should have been able to make inside my locked bedroom. And that was the moment I understood. Whatever was coming for me had already learned how to get in. Click. That's all it was. A soft click, like a door gently shutting or worse, opening. I was awake before I knew I was, heart drumming hard in my chest. The kind of awake you don't ease into. No dreams, just darkness and silence and a sudden, absolute stillness that didn't belong. I sat up. The air felt off, heavier. I caught it then. A smell. Not mine. Crisp lemon disinfectant mixed with something warm, greasy, leftover takeout? No, it was bacon grease. Someone had fried something here recently. I hadn't cooked all week. I reached for my phone. Dead. Impossible. I had charged it fully before bed. I pushed the blanket aside, walked barefoot across the hardwood floor. Each step calculated. The hallway light was still off, but the moonlight pushed through the blinds, revealing just enough. The desk drawer was slightly open. Not how I left it. The hairbrush inside had moved. So had the old notebook beneath it. I didn't need to flip it open to know something had changed, but I did anyway. A page torn out. Jagged edge. Under my desk, the torn page balled up like trash. I picked it up. My handwriting. A journal entry from years ago. I don't feel safe in this house. I sat on the floor, frozen. They'd been here. Someone had stood where I was sitting now. Someone who shouldn't have access. Who didn't live here. Who? Tap. My head snapped toward the window. Nothing. But the curtain shifted. Just a little. Wind? Or someone outside watching? I locked my bedroom door again. Twice. Shoved the desk chair under the knob for good measure. Not that it would help. I couldn't stop shaking. I typed a message with cold fingers. I can't tell you why. Just know I don't feel safe. Not tonight. Sent it to Camille. Only friend who knew the history. I lay back down, eyes wide open. Waiting. Nothing. Morning came. I hadn't slept. I didn't need to. I opened the drawer again. Slower this time. There, perfectly centered on the top of my desk, was a key. A copy of my bedroom key. Next to it, a folded note in blocky, unmistakable handwriting. We're always closer than you think. G. Jake. My stepbrother. My mother's golden boy. The one who never knocked. The one who always had a reason to be near my things. To borrow. To look for something, to check in. I stared at the key. My mouth was dry. My chest felt tight. They weren't just intruding anymore. They were taunting. And they weren't doing it alone. An unknown number called. One ring. Hung up. Then came the text. Don't move. No name. No follow-up. Just those two words. I threw the phone across the bed, then retrieved it a second later. At work, my coworker Nolan glanced at me too long. You all right? He asked. You've been jumpy all week. I gave him the default smile. Didn't sleep well. He hesitated. If you ever need, I mean just saying, you've been off. Since last Friday. Friday. The night the hallway light flickered on by itself. He knew something. Or had seen something. Or no. Paranoia was part of this now. Still, I asked, what do you mean? He looked at me carefully. Forget it. That night, I pulled the desk back, checked under the bed, the closet, every drawer. Then I flipped the light off and waited in the dark. A red light blinked from across the room. The camera, hidden, armed. I'd said it myself. I was done hoping this would go away, because now I had proof. And proof doesn't lie. She felt the cold steel of the mysterious key in her palm, and understood that from now on, her room was already someone else's. I didn't tell anyone I bought a security camera. It wasn't paranoia. It was insurance. One tiny lens, wired into the upper bookshelf, aimed straight at my door. It didn't blink. It didn't sleep. It watched. 36 hours passed before I had the guts to review the footage. I waited until it was dark, sat in the center of my bed, locked the door, headphones on, laptop open. There it was. At 3:11 a.m., the handle turned. But I had locked it, deadbolt and all. Still the handle turned, once, then stilled. My breath caught. The door opened. Slow. Soundless. Someone stepped in. Dark hoodie. Baseball cap. Mask. No sound. Just movement. The figure moved to the desk, reached for the drawer, paused, turned to look straight at the camera, paused again, then smiled. I slammed the laptop shut, nearly threw it. He knew I was watching now. The next day at work, Nolan caught me by the coffee machine. Eyes sharp, voice low. You okay? I nodded too fast, too rehearsed. He watched me a beat too long. Look, if someone's messing with you. They're not. I forced the words. It's nothing. Nolan hesitated, then leaned in slightly. My cousin's a PI. Just saying. I shook my head. No, thanks. But the thought stuck, because that wasn't nothing I saw on the screen. That was Jake. I knew how he moved, the way his left shoulder dipped when he turned, the habit of cracking his neck every few seconds. You can't wear a mask over body language. That night, Camille texted me, "Are you still at that place? Can we talk?" I didn't answer. Instead, I stood in the hallway just outside my door, staring at the locked bolt. The house was silent. I placed a strip of masking tape across the base of the door. A simple trick, one I'd read in a forum post. If someone entered, even quietly, the tape would curl or shift. If they didn't, well, then maybe I really was losing it. 3:47 a.m. Phone buzzed. Unknown number. No voicemail. I checked the door. Tape was peeled up, split clean down the middle. I hadn't heard a sound, but someone had been inside again. This time, I didn't just record it. I called Camille. She picked up on the second ring. "I'm coming over," she said before I could speak. "Right now. Don't argue." 20 minutes later, Camille arrived with coffee, her sweatshirt inside out, hair wet from a rushed shower. "Show me," she said. I did. The tape, the footage, the smile. She didn't blink once, just whispered, "He's escalating." I looked at her. Why now? Why like this? She didn't answer, just stared at the paused image on my screen, the figure standing in the dark, grinning at the camera. Then she said, almost to herself, "To a future we can't escape." "What does that mean?" Camille exhaled. "It means he's not just playing. He wants you to react." That morning, I filed a police report. The officer on duty, a young woman with tired eyes and a clipboard, barely looked up. "You said there was forced entry." "No, but I have video. He has a key." She scribbled. "Family member?" "Stepbrother." She raised an eyebrow. Was there a crime committed, or just a concern of harassment? I stared at her. I locked my door. He broke in. I didn't give him permission. She nodded slowly. "We'll file it, but unless there's damage or direct harm, it's a civil issue for now." I wanted to scream. Instead, I walked out with a copy of the report. Not for safety, for proof, in case something worse happened. That evening, I came home to find my kitchen light on. I never leave it on. On the table, an envelope. No stamp, no address. Inside, a flash drive. No note, I plugged it into a burner laptop. The file inside was named simply Wednesday. I hit play. The video was grainy, black and white, camera angle, high static. My room, my bed, me sleeping. Date and time, 48 hours ago. Someone had filmed me without my camera, without my knowledge, from a different angle, from a device I didn't own. I froze, because in the bottom corner of the screen, something else moved. A second figure, not Jake. This one was shorter, hair longer, barefoot, female. She entered quietly, stood over my bed, then vanished. I looked at the timestamp again, then the calendar. I hadn't had visitors that night. I hadn't opened the door. I lived alone. She turned to the last second of the video and watched her own sleeping body go still, then saw the camera shift just slightly, as if someone behind it had adjusted the lens. The woman in the video didn't belong in my house. She was barefoot, moved like she knew the space, paused at the edge of my bed, tilted her head almost lovingly, then disappeared out of frame, leaving behind silence and something worse. Familiarity. I watched it twice, 3 times, then paused at the clearest still, zoomed in. The profile, the curve of her cheek, that scar above the eyebrow, just like mine. My throat locked. No, it wasn't me. It was someone pretending to be me. Camille stared at the screen and whispered, "This is beyond twisted." I nodded but couldn't speak. I was floating outside myself, detached from every rule of reality I thought I knew. If they're staging this, Camille said, then it's not just harassment. It's orchestration. Staging what, though? For what purpose? She didn't answer. I grabbed the flash drive, shoved it into my pocket. I'm going to the station. To do what? She snapped. They won't care. They didn't last time. This isn't some ex. It's my stepbrother, and maybe more than that now. My voice shook. He's trying to make me disappear before I actually do. I returned to the station with the video. Officer Raleigh, different from the first, leaned back in her seat, watched, paused, leaned forward again. This footage came from your home security camera. No, someone left it for me. It's from a different angle. Her eyes sharpened. You're saying there's an unknown surveillance device in your residence? I nodded. That's illegal. She wrote quickly. Did you give anyone access to your place recently? Maintenance? Cleaning services? No, just me. Always just me. And the woman in the video. I hesitated. She looks like me, but she's not. When I got home, I ripped every outlet, vent, bookshelf apart. Found nothing. But in the bathroom, behind the mirror, I noticed something wrong. A screw misaligned. Scratched. I slid the mirror up. Behind it, wired into the wall, was a pin-sized camera. Battery-powered. Wireless. Hidden perfectly behind the medicine cabinet. Not new. Dust clung to it, which meant it had been there for months. Maybe years. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just unscrewed it. Took it out. Held it in my palm. And knew something I hadn't let myself say aloud. This was never about watching me now. This was about recording me before. The doorbell rang. I froze. Checked the peephole. No one. Just an envelope. Again. Same handwriting. All caps. Mara. Final warning. Inside, photos. Still frames of me, taken from angles I never saw. Changing clothes. Brushing my teeth. Sleeping. Some looked weeks old. Others years. My stomach turned. One photo was labeled March 12th, 2019. I remembered that day. I'd stayed homesick. Slept through most of it. Now I knew. Someone had been watching even then. I whispered to myself, they built a file on me. Camille and I met in a diner on the edge of downtown. Public. Bright. Cameras in every corner. She listened as I laid everything out. Photos, footage, USBs. When I finished, she exhaled slowly. You think it's just Jake and your stepfather? It has to be. But how would they access surveillance that predates your move? That stopped me. She leaned in. What if they didn't plant the camera? What if they knew someone who did? I blinked. Who? She hesitated. Your mom's accountant. The one you said always handled the estate stuff. What's his name? Garrison. Could he have been part of this? I hadn't thought about him in years. Quiet. Always present at family events. Always polite. The one who told me at 16, some walls hear better than people. I sat back. My heart did something strange. Tightened. Twisted. What if this wasn't just a family issue? What if it was systemic? I called Garrison's office. Disconnected. I tried his cell. Straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. That night, I searched every account I had. Every email. Every cloud backup. In one old, forgotten Gmail inbox, I found it. A password reset notification. Camera cloud view. The service name hit like a slap. I never created an account there. But someone used my name. I clicked the reset link. It opened. And dozens of saved clips loaded. All tagged under one folder, Marathon. The first clip dated back 6 years. The most recent, last night. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text only. You weren't supposed to find that. She stared at the screen, then at her reflection in the window, because for the first time, she wasn't sure whose eyes were looking back. A new apartment. High-rise. Key card. Lobby cameras. Lights. Locked foyers. I told myself this was the safe start I'd been craving. 3 nights in. No footsteps. No shadows. No smell of frying oil. I unpacked my pots. Hung my jackets. Set the kitchen table with clean dishes. I even made coffee at midnight, a small act of normalcy. But that comfort shattered fast. The first clue was in my mailbox, a thin envelope. No stamp. No return address. Just my name, scrawled large. Inside, a single USB drive. No note. I stared at it for minutes. Then closed the door. Locked it twice. Tucked the drive into my bag. I couldn't touch it yet. Not until I felt safe. Sleep didn't come. At 2:03 a.m., I woke, gasping from a nightmare or a memory I wasn't sure. I flicked on the bedside lamp. Reached for my phone. Saw missed calls. Voicemails. From unfamiliar numbers. A ringtone I recognized but couldn't place. I hit delete. The hum of the apartment felt different. Watching. Waiting. Then I heard it, the elevator ping. On my floor. I froze. Stood motionless. The door slid open. One frame of light. Empty, then closed again. Heartbeat racing. Grabbed keys. Gripped pepper spray I'd bought last week. I crept to the peephole. Nothing. Empty hall. Quiet. Too quiet. I stumbled back in. Locked the door. Leaned against it, sliding down to sit. My breath shook. I swallowed hard. I whispered aloud. Walls are only illusions we believe in. I plugged the USB into my laptop. Muffled click. The screen flickered. A folder, Wednesday night. Bedroom cam. One file. 3 minutes, 14 seconds. I hit play. Dark. Grainy. Static. I recognized the room. My wardrobe. The desk. The bed. Then the figure walked in. Same hoodie. Same cap. Mask. Hands visible. Gloves. The person moved with slow purpose. Camera didn't catch a face. But stance. Posture. Rhythm. Familiar. The figure stopped in front of the bed. Reached into a pocket. Pulled out a second USB drive. Slow motion. The hand raised. Poised to drop it onto the nightstand. Then scratch sound. Jarring. The frame glitched. Audio cut. The screen went black for half a second, then returned. The figure had vanished. No door movement. No footsteps outside. I shut the laptop fast. My vision blurred. The world tilted. That wasn't just intrusion. That was premeditated evidence theft. Next morning, I called the leasing office under a false name. Has anyone authorized an inspection of Unit 1208? I asked, voice calm but clipped. The man paused. Not that I recall, he said slowly. Why? Did you notice something off? No, I said. Call it paranoia. I hung up, because whether he thought I was paranoid or not, it didn't matter. I was being watched. And worse, being set up. I texted Camille, meet tonight. I have something you need to see. No time, no address. Just to meet or not. She showed up. Rain-slicked street. Neon lights. Her jacket zipped to the chin. Eyes alert. I handed over a sealed manila envelope. Inside, screenshots from the video footage. One image frozen at the exact moment the figure stood over the bed, with the second USB in hand. She stared, gray eyes wide, whispered, "They think they can rewrite your story. This makes you the defendant before the trial even starts." She exhaled. They use fear like a weapon and doubt as ammunition. I rubbed my temples. I'm running out of ammo. I said quietly, now I know fear smells like stale coffee and dead batteries. I went public, filed a demand with the leasing office, list all maintenance inspections last 12 months, list all authorized keys, list all vendor identities. I signed it with my full name, my address, because if I was going to play, I was going all in, exposing the game board. Then the call came, late night, private number, static, a voice calm, familiar. "Good luck with your lists," it whispered. "Hope you remember, we own more than your walls." Click. Silence. I dropped the phone, breathed fast. The air turned cold in the room. I realized something. This isn't only my fight. They were preparing the world to believe I was the criminal. I couldn't stay. I packed again. Essentials. Clothes. Laptop. Backup drive. Camera hardware. Cash. A small duffel bag. I videotaped a message to myself way before I left. Held the camera up. If I disappear, this is who I am. Then I taped the bedroom door shut, plastering layers of evidence tape on top, the knob hidden behind a chair. And I walked out, keys in hand, door locked behind me. The hallway smelled of bleach. The elevator dinged. Doors closed. I exhaled, but I didn't relax, because I knew somewhere out there in a building with cameras, keycards, security, someone was watching me walk away. And waiting. She opened the USB and her own voice echoed back at her. "You'll regret ever letting me go." But she had never said those words. Detective Aaron Thorne didn't look like the kind of cop who missed things. Short auburn hair, steady eyes, a voice that carried the weight of someone who had heard every excuse humanity had to offer. When she sat across from me in the precinct interview room, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. A spine. "Start from the beginning," she said. I did. Short, precise, no flourishes, just the facts, the intrusions, the cameras, the stage footage, the woman who looked like me, the USBs that kept appearing like curses. When I finished, she folded her hands. "You moved. Quietly. Didn't tell them." "Yes. But they still found you." I nodded. She exhaled. "I'm going to help you. But understand this. Once we escalate, there's no going back." A phrase came to mind, one my stepfather used to toss out like wisdom. Some people don't chase truth. They chase control. I never realized he was describing himself. "Then let's escalate," I said. Her mouth twitched, almost a smile. The plan wasn't elaborate. It didn't need to be. Simplicity leaves fewer holes for predators to crawl through. We'd use my old apartment as bait. Thorne arranged temporary access through the landlord, citing an open investigation. Legal. Documented. When we arrived, the hallway smelled different, sterile, like bleach fighting to erase something that refused to disappear. The door to my old unit hung slightly off-center, like it had been forced once, then fixed too quickly. Inside, the air was too clean, too staged, like someone reset the scene and left it waiting for its next performance. Cut scene. I moved through the living room, slowly. There were no crumbs, no dust, no stray fibers. My old apartment had never been this immaculate, not even when I first moved in. Someone scrubbed this place, I said. Someone expecting company, Thorne murmured. We split up. Quick sweeps, tight breaths, sharp corners. I reached the bedroom last. The moment I stepped in, my skin prickled. Something was wrong, something unseen. I crouched, checking under the bed. Nothing. The closet emptied. The air vent clean. Too clean. Then I saw it. A glint, barely visible, behind the lower drawer of the nightstand. I slid it open. A tiny black device. Not a camera. A signal transmitter. Old. Dusty. Weeks old? Months? Thorne leaned in. That's not recent. This goes back before your first report. My pulse spiked. So this started before Jake ever broke into my room. She met my eyes, meaning someone else had access long before he did. Cut scene. The world tilted, because there was only one person who'd been around long enough, only one who had keys to every place I ever lived, every dorm, every rental, every locked door. My stepmother. Quiet, polite, soft-spoken, the kind of woman people described as comforting, the kind who stood in corners during family gatherings and made everyone tea, the kind who disappeared from rooms without anyone noticing. Camille's voice echoed in my head. They think they can rewrite your story. I swallowed hard. She's been in my room. More than once. Thorne didn't look surprised. I suspected as much. We moved to the living room. Thorne pulled out her tablet. There's another detail you need to know. Your stepfather, Henry Ellison, was reported 3 times for boundary violations. I stiffened. When? 10 years ago. 5 years ago. And, most recently, 2 years ago. Same pattern. Unlawful home entry. Surveillance. But the cases disappeared. How? Thorne tapped the screen. Same private accountant filed the counterclaims. Garrison Hale. My lungs tightened. He's been in the family forever. Exactly, which means he's been close enough to manipulate paperwork, evidence, finances, access logs. Everything. And my stepmother? Thorne paused. She was listed as a character witness in one of the cases. A slow-motion reveal. No sound, just the weight of betrayal settling into my bones. My family didn't protect predators. They manufactured them, and they fed them. Cut scene. We worked in silence after that, gathering evidence, photographing entry points, logging timestamps. My hands didn't stop shaking, but for the first time, the terror had an edge, a direction, a target. Then, while Thorne photographed the living room, I saw something in the hallway mirror, a reflection that didn't match. A figure stood behind me. I spun. Nothing there. Hall empty. My breath stuttered. Thorne hurried over. What? I stopped, shook my head. Stress. Maybe. But I didn't believe myself. Because reflections don't lie. People do. We loaded everything into evidence bags. Thorne locked them in the trunk. Tomorrow, she said, we push this forward. Full warrant request. Surveillance authorization. That means we're going after the source. And who's the source? I asked, though I already knew. She didn't hesitate. Your stepfamily. All of them. My throat tightened. Every door I ever locked, they opened. Then, "It's your turn," Thorne said. "Open theirs." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Finish this." I left the apartment building alone. Fog hung low over the street. Street lamps flickered, bathing the sidewalk in pulses of yellow. I felt eyes on me. Heavy, intentional. I walked faster. Halfway to my car, a notification lit up my phone. New file uploaded to camera cloud view. My breath hitched. I tapped it open. A new clip. Time stamped 2 minutes ago. Camera angle. The hallway of the very building I was standing in. The video showed me leaving the apartment, but not alone. Behind me, in perfect clarity, my stepmother lifted her face to the hidden camera, smiled faintly, and whispered, "She doesn't know a thing." Rain hammered the windshield as I parked 2 blocks from the old apartment building. Neon glow blurred across wet asphalt. I kept the engine running. I held my breath. Detective Thorne crouched beside me in the passenger seat, camera in hand, badge clipped tight. "You ready?" she asked. I nodded. No words, just the electric hum of fear and resolve. We entered together. Lobby empty. Lights on motion detectors flickered. As we reached the elevator, I half expected the usual beep announcing our floor. Instead, silence. Door slid open, we stepped inside. I pressed the button for 12. Door closed. Floor indicator blinked 9, 10, 11, then froze. Lights cut. Only the glow of Thorne's cell phone illuminated her face. I pressed the emergency button. Static. Nothing. A soft click. Then a dial tone. A recording. "Welcome home, Mara." My heart stopped. We backed off to the corner as the doors drifted open. Dim light. Hallway. Deathly quiet. My old door stood ajar. Cut scene. Thorne raised her gun, whispered, "On 3." I inched closer. 1, 2, 3. Burst of motion. A hooded figure lunged from inside. I dropped to the floor. Camera light flashed. "Freeze frame." Thorne's voice came low. "Put your hands where I can see them." Footsteps. Another silhouette. Then a third. 3 attackers. I shook, ready to run, ready to fight. Then a hand closed around my ankle. I tripped. Lights flicked on. I saw Jake, his face twisted, angry, disbelief. Behind him, my stepfather, and at the edge of the frame, my stepmother. The room glowed under the overhead bulb, a battered filing cabinet in the corner. Thorne's flashlight swung past it. Light hit the wall, not where the camera lens should be. She yelled, "Bag them." They froze. I scrambled upright. I grabbed the black device from the nightstand, the original transmitter we found, held it high. "This ends now." My voice echoed. A crash. The cabinet door smashed. Folders spilled. A single paper drifted to the floor, a ledger. Names. Dates. Payments. A paper trail too long, too damning. I picked it up. They followed the sound of my breath. I read the top line out loud. Camera cloud view account, Mara Ellison. Opened 20180412. Silence. Sirens. Blue-red lights glared through windows. Police burst in. I backed away. Hands up. Wet hair plastered to my face. I didn't care. They cuffed the 3 of them. In that apartment stained with years of betrayal. Cameras everywhere clicking. Flash. Click. Click. I didn't move. A week later I sat in a sterile office. Statements, signatures, affidavits. Evidence logs. Handwritten confessions. Digital timestamps. Surveillance footage submitted to the district attorney. Judge's chamber. The pin overhead light. The gavel. I didn't watch the verdict. I turned away, focused on my breathing, on the sound of my pulse in my ears. I heard it anyway. Guilty on all counts. Relief. Cold. Slow. Real. Outside the courthouse, the sky was gray. Rain threatened again. I closed my umbrella. Thorne approached with a folder. She handed it to me. Inside, a printout of the ledger, screenshots of the files, copies of police reports, the USBs. She said, "You don't have to ever go back there again." I nodded. I closed my eyes. For the first time in years, I exhaled. That night, I drove northeast. City lights shrinking behind me. Highway lanes flashing under the wheels. Radio soft. Memory calm. I moved toward a new town. A place with no keys handed to family. No cameras hidden in walls. No parents who believed love justifies control. In the rear-view mirror, the old apartment complex glowed distantly, a ghost of pain. I whispered as I drove, voice low but steady. We're not defined by the walls they build around us. We're defined by the ones we burn down. Weeks later, I stood on the balcony of a new apartment, high floor, city lights below like scattered stars. I unlocked my laptop, opened a blank document, typed one line. If you're reading this, I found freedom. I left the room. Door closed behind me. Quiet. No footsteps. No watching. Only me. The only door that opens now is the one I choose.